All right, good afternoon, everybody. Just get myself organized here. Looks like we got Greg in, so if you could, Adrian, if you could post Greg's question in the chat so we can launch with that. And let's please make sure, Adrian, that we are promoting attendees that are internal team members to panelists like Will Clemens is right now, please. I think we've been missing that recently. Should be a promote to panelist action on his name. All right, so hey, Greg, let me unmute you. Let me get myself together here, which is when we add a report viewer to a page, how do we make it so that there are tabs and we can click on multiple reports?
I used to know how to do this, and then I totally forgot, and I couldn't find it on the docs.
Well,
I know
there's a tab container on a page.
Yeah, it was like that's exactly what it was. I think it was something you had to add onto the page, and then you drag the report viewer maybe onto that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So here's a page, and if we search for it'd probably be a layout. Here's a tab container.
Tab container, okay.
And then here we can do, report viewer here, and then we can change the tab and do a report viewer here, change the tab and report viewer here.
Can you do multiple folder activity panels as well, like linked to these tabs, Well,
the folder activity panel needs to have a folder ID. How would you, you can, I believe you should be able to have like if you have like a report with the activity panel, like sort of side by side, that type of design.
Yep. Yeah, with a say next to this or something like that, you had another panel set up and you had a folder activity panel in that.
I'm almost certain that that's not a problem. I'm just saying I don't know with that should work just fine. There should not be any reason you can't have multiple. Yeah, I don't think that that's an issue at all.
Okay.
The only thing you don't get with this approach that you get with having separate pages is no one can navigate directly to tab B. So whenever they come here, they have to go to tab A. Whereas if you use page views, somebody can bookmark the page view. And so you can still get like a tab-like view where you have like pages along the top, similar to what you have.
What do you mean nobody would be able to use it? Like, can you give me like an example?
Well, like in that page we just built, right? Yeah. Like someone's gonna say, hey, like someone's gonna come to you and say, how do I bookmark this so it always opens on tab B?
Oh, I got you. Okay, yeah.
You're gonna have to say, I can't. Now, but like if you use page views, you can still get what is effectively what for all intents and purposes are tabs, and they can be direct linked. So these are individual pages added to the breadcrumb bar, if you will, for a folder, which are acting like tabs.
Gotcha.
And those allowed you to be direct linked, so that you can bookmark directly to that page view.
Gotcha. All right, thanks, Will. I think that covers it.
Oh, you bet, man. Happy to help. That's straightforward. All right, and I'll go ahead and mute you. We've got a question from Anonymous. Is there a way to reset case index and set it to a specific starting index? Is there a way to reset case index? So this is this is like the sequence number for a case. There's a query for this. Oof. I'll have to find this. Reset ID generation. Let's see if I can find this. Does anyone know how to reset the ID generation? Before we add a key. Here's a thread. So we have to use a query for this. Oh, good Lord. It's on my small screen. Users can restart the sequences that decisions now uses by executing an alter sequence statement. So yeah, we moved at some point, and this is in 7.x, early 7, so maybe early 8 or all 8, I'm not entirely sure. We moved away from saving our ID generation data in the database, and now we use these sequences. And so you should be able to use alter sequence to reset it or set it to a specific number to change that ID val, the ID valuation that you get, the ID that you get when you create a new case. They pull from these sequences now. Does that answer your question, Anonymous? Where's one of those participants? There we go. Yep. Okay, great. All right, Mithun. Can user configure the UI widgets via portal? Let me let you talk really quick. I'm not sure I follow the question exactly, Mithun. What sort of widgets? Are you asking if they can do it outside of the studio?
Yeah. So usually, am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Yeah. Usually developers has the access to control the UI widgets or create any forms. So once we release this application as a product, is there any way that we can configure from outside? Like, I mean, as a user through portal or something, rather than using the designer studio. Like if you provide some ID or something through parameters, I can change the headings of a particular UI widget, or I can control the UI widget. Is there any way?
Not directly, no. Like any design time change, like moving a text box around on a form, or adding a column to a report, or editing a rule, those do imply that you have access to the studio. What you can do though is you can build this. This isn't a capability, it's more of a design. But there's an example of this in our app store. So I'm on the My Apps page, App Store. And really quick before I jump into this, just want to remind everyone that we've got Decisions Days at the Virginia Beach ocean front in May, right on the Atlantic Ocean. So if you're interested in learning more about that, please reach out to your customer success manager, and we can get you some more information. But I forgot to mention that at the top. But in the App Store here, there is a project called Employee Onboarding. Now, the details of this project aren't important. I'm just going to install this on my local really quick. Try to point out what I'm the sort of half answer to your question. Go ahead and refresh here. And My Apps Employee Onboarding. Now, employee onboarding, the way employee onboarding works is you have a folder of activities. And these activities can be managed by end users from the portal, and they can create in content. So they could say, create new account in Rippling, and then they could assign it to someone.
Application admin.
Yeah, they can give it an activity, or this is just a decisions form that's built, and it would say, blah, 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 right? And they can click continue, and then I can add another one, and I could say, create, add to all users, AD group, so on and so forth. You can imagine me as an HR person building up the workflow for employee onboarding in this way, right? And then what happens is there's a flow that runs, a proper decisions flow. So oftentimes the question I think you're asking is, can I get someone to change this flow without access to the studio? And you can't, but you can build that flow to run. And I'm just gonna submit this with no data. Wonderful. And then you can have its behavior be built on. So you can see here, I've got two activities, two tasks that were created. Because of the content of that folder. So you can create user interfaces that are available in the end user portal for users to manage the data that drives their process. And you can download this employee onboarding application to your local or to your development server if you'd like to see how this is built. And you can take this further with things like external data truth tables. You might want to create like a truth table that drives some business logic, and you want to put the adding or editing of the data in the rows of that truth table in the hands of an end user. And then and you can use external data truth tables to do something similar to that. We've got some customers that have built these sophisticated bits of business logic, but the managing of the actual content is handled by an end user, like a business user, not the IT team. And so that thing again is called an external truth table.
Okay. So, and what about this workflow manager? Like, I mean, that is handled, or that can be used through a designer studio itself. A developer has to work on that.
On what specifically? I'm sorry.
Workflow manager, it has a lot of capabilities to configure the workflows. So that is also done by the developer itself, or any application user can do it, can configure the workflows.
No, it is meant to be done by a developer, but the developer doesn't have to write code.
That's
right? But it's someone who has access to the studio versus the end user portal and can make changes to the design of the flow. A user cannot come in and make changes. They just execute the flows.
Understood.
Yep. So it is a developer role, but not a traditional developer who's doing the design work. At least not always or not often.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah. Any other questions about that at all?
No, I think I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you for the question. Okay. I don't see any other queued up questions. So if you guys have questions, let me know. Just use raise hand or put it in the chat, and I'll jump on it for you. All right. Hey, Alex, what do you got?
You are muted. I'm not muted anymore. Okay, cool. Oh yeah, I think I just have two simple questions, Will. One is, how does decisions have some mechanism to, figure out whether it's on a mobile device or versus a tablet versus a computer screen kind of thing?
It does. It can transform itself. It knows that it is running on a certain type of device. In fact, if you look at a flow and I pull a show form step over here, one of the things you see here under form setup are options for form, mobile, or tablet form. And if you've built mobile, this is kind of old stuff for us, but if you've built mobile or tablet forms, it will swap out the appropriate form at runtime automatically for you, given the user's like context, if they're on mobile or tablet.
Right.
There are also steps that we've used before that can give you the actual like user information as a variable in the flow if you needed it for some reason. These, some of the need for these have been removed with some of the new simple forms, which scale a lot better than the old forms did. But if you want to build very specific versions of a form with all or a subset of that form control data for mobile, the workflow engine will swap those out. You just pick it, you pick your mobile version of your form. And as long as all the inputs and outputs are named the same, the workflow will identify that the user is accessing via mobile and will show that form versus the default form.
Okay, cool. And simple forms, are you saying that this is the better way to proceed or the more modern way to proceed?
They're not as there's still a feature gap between the old forms, legacy forms, and simple forms. But they are they're definitely the one that's going to receiving the most love here in the future. Okay. There are things that either won't be added back to them because of depreciation or just haven't been yet. But like, for example, like right now, like if you put like a data repeater control on a regular form, it's going to, if it gets larger, it's going to get a scroll bar because the container content doesn't drive the container size. And simple forms are more extensible, where they can, you can have the height or the width of the whole form grow based on the content size. Okay. And it's just a nicer default view that uses mobile, that renders natively on mobile. So it's built to it's built to render using like mobile native like controls on mobile. So it gives you a more of like an out of the box contemporary like a design runtime experience than the normal forms do or old forms.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. And the other question is about the assignment data source. Mm-hmm. So I throw this up on a dashboard page, and I want when I left click on it, I want to be able to bring up the underlying object that is being approved, kind of thing. I don't know if that makes sense.
Ask that again. I'm sorry.
Like,
I'm sorry.
so if so the assignment, when I, kind of configure it in the flow, I give it a name, right? And so, when you click on the grid, it shows like a little pop-up context menu shows up with that action. What I want to do is I want the form behind that to pop up immediately, rather than having to select it from the context menu.
You want to control what the left click action on the report does?
Yeah, well, like, so for example, like in my custom type, I basically I left click, and basically I go into the user actions, and I set a particular action as the default action.
Mm-hmm.
And then boom, it happens. So I'm trying to figure out what kind of makes that behavior work against the assignments data source.
I think you can control that. I think there is this property. I'm in a user action and in a configuration folder for an entity, and is default grid action is edit. Let me save this. I bet I have to do this somewhere else. If I go back to activities and I left click, oh, there you go. Versus, so you don't want the context menu, you want to select the action that shows up on left click.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in your configuration folder, here I've got two entity actions, right? These user actions here, create user action. And I edited the edit activity one and went to properties and set is default grid action to true.
Yeah, so that's great but the thing is that I don't have a user action defined for the assignment data source. I'm getting that because I'm setting an assignment form in a flow.
Okay.
So how do I, like I say, in my types where I have my own configuration folder and I create user actions, I have no trouble doing this. But when I put the assignment data source on here, I don't know how I get to set that default action.
Got it. Okay, bear with me. I see, understand better, sorry. Entity name, oh good, I have some assignments. All right, now let me look at actions. Show actions on left click. Override action context. Let me see what happens if I deselect show actions on left click. Oh, it just doesn't show actions. Okay, so if that's selected and I run the report, what happens? Is it going to show me an action context? It's going to do this stupid slide out. Okay, so let's go look at what actions we have in settings available to us. Designer Studio settings. And here, let me search for action. Right row left click, show slider, default action. What happens there? Come back here, run report. There's no default action on the assignment. Is there? Okay. So grid view specified. Row left click action type, default action. I think we can control. Let me just try this. Not show slider. I'm gonna say default action again, save and run. I know we've gotten this to work. I think it's some ridiculously tricky way to do this though. Oh, here you go. Okay, so nothing, but hang tight. There's that. Let me go back to action. So left click. Oops, run. Okay. Center Studio settings, action. Okay, so there's not a default action. And you want the actual assigned form itself to show, right? The actual, not like a custom action you're gonna build in a configuration folder?
Yeah, so what I'm hoping to get up is just the form that would normally show up if I click the context menu.
Got it. All right. I know we can do this. I know someone has done it. Let me post in a channel and ask.
Okay, Alex, you can make it a link.
Yeah, that would work. Sure. You could use like a inline link, but then, well, then you'd be what, getting to a new tab with the full screen experience of a form?
Yeah, I'm not sure what that actually means. Make it a link, like one of the columns on the row, turn it into a link.
I think that's what Vitaly is offering, creating like a link field. So calculated column, like open link or open URL inline field, something like that. And that would be the leftmost column. Let me put this report on a page and let's see if I can control this with a report viewer. This should, I just asked. Let's see, behavior, portal navigation, navigate action. Don't care. Filter action. Start and multi-select. Refresh. Settings, text. Let's do view. Hide header. Override, calendar, default. I'm gonna probably show group action button. Always show action on row. Grid style default. I think I'm sure we could do this, Alex. I just don't know how to do it.
Okay.
I swear someone must have done this before. I mean, honestly, probably a ridiculously, well, no, then you'd see both. An awful idea, but might work would be to create an assignment extension folder.
I did that.
Okay.
But I'm not sure how that is useful.
Yeah, so well, I'm gonna hopefully get someone while I do what I think is a workable but dumb solution for you here. Get someone who's done this before from the PS team to give me some. So I'm gonna create an assignment config folder. Right, and then in this, I'm gonna go create an entity. I'm gonna create a user action. I'll call it, just keep the name there. And then here, what I'll do is what I did before is default. And then I could do something like find an inform session step. And in this, I could open a URL, and the URL would be a merge, and it should be entity. And is it going to give me URL? No.
There was an assignment.
Maybe URL. There we go. Let's see what that does. This probably won't work, but let's just try it. And let's go back to our thing here. We'll run our report, and then I can left click. No. I should be running that action I just built. Didn't we just get that to work? Let me build a brand new report just as a test. Two messes. Run this. Come on, was it not running that? If I right click and do it, it'll open, but it's not respecting default action. Is that because I changed system settings? This should not be so difficult to do. Must be some default behavior here. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to ask someone on the service team if they've gotten this to work for anyone before, Alex. I'm not sure, man.
Yeah, no worries.
You should be able to for sure. I just don't know how to.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was something in the configuration of the assignment inside the flow, but I couldn't find anything in there either.
There is also another option. I think you can do the report actions in the row. Okay, how do you do this again? Grid view, let's specify. There's a way to put the frickin' actions in the row. I wish I haven't done in ages. That might be. The heck is levels format? How do you add these? Is it a calculated column? Oh, assignment interaction. What is? You can get the action to show up as you can get the actions to show up as in line. Maybe that's on the report viewer, not on a report. Let's see here. I haven't done this in ages.
There, it's always show actions on row, that thing there.
I don't think so. Now I need to get an answer for this too. Maybe our doc show. Action in report inline. That's probably not going to come back with anything. Action inline and yeah, I'm not sure. Let me follow up with you, Alex. I don't know, man. Sorry.
Yep. No, yeah,
But
no
there is a way for us to put the actions, not as like the right click actions, like as like a column in the report.
as a column.
Like, yeah, you can actually
Oh,
have
you
them
mean-
low,
oh,
like,
okay,
so that
okay,
means
gotcha. Like add a
theoretically
column.
that could be the leftmost column in your report.
Okay, gotcha.
I just can't remember how to do it.
So it seems that the two possible solutions to that are that, and also to do the end form that actually figures out what the assignment URL is and shows it to the user, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. Appreciate that.
Okay. Question from Anon. Can we plug in Bootstrap CSS and just use it in classes on decisions controls? Sure, you can, but it won't move. It won't move controls around, but you can have the styling of Bootstrap. You can use custom CSS, absolutely. But it doesn't, it wouldn't be like a full implementation of Bootstrap. Like the controls won't grow and shrink based on the horizontal width of the viewport, unfortunately. Will, you're on here, right? Yeah, I'd like you to take a break from training and figure out how to do those two things. I just couldn't do, and then teach me, please. That would be wonderful.
Okay.
That was robotic, but I'll assume that was a agreement. So, all right, anybody else got anything for us today? All right, just a reminder again about decisions days. I'll be off next week. So if I will see this wonderful group of people week after next. Thanks for the questions, everybody. Have a great day and a great rest of your week.